3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We are live. Now that is what is called a crossover and a half. Brogan has literally just finished a live AMA on another channel. Came in, passed me the mics over so we can do the live stream on time. I did think we would be late today, but we're not. We are here, and it is a Friday. It is Friday, the 15th of March. We are live. This is not a recording. It is not a pre-recording. I am actually here. It is 11 o'clock and 39 seconds, and it's a Friday, and nothing really has happened in crypto, has it? We've not had any kind of correction. We've not had any kind of pump, but where are we going to go? I'm going to let you know over the course of this live stream what's going to happen with Bitcoin today, in my opinion. Remember, all of these things we talk about are my opinion. They are not the opinions of the channel we are broadcasting on. So, what we're going to go through today, it's over, apparently. We're going to go through Sun. Justin Sun has deposited a lot of Ethereum to a certain project, which I made a video on this week. So, yet again, Crypto Warehouse is ahead of the game. BNB or Sol, I'm going to give you my pick, which one I would hold to take forward on two provisos. We're going to look at ICP. We're going to look at the price action of ICP, a little bit about the project. I cover it a lot. It's in one of my portfolios, the $15,000 portfolio, but I don't really talk about it very much. Debasement, I'm going to go through hopefully in about 4 or 5 minutes and explain what debasement is. And I'm going to explain what inflation hedging is, and I'm going to explain why Bitcoin is the reason to hold Bitcoin over gold over the next 10 years, 20 years, as we get more and more debasement. Then we're going to finish with Craig Wright and the court case about him being Satoshi. And yes, $74,000 is still my target. And no, I haven't switched bearish overnight because we've had a correction. This isn't a correction. This isn't even a drop in the ocean. We see Bitcoin move 20% in days. This hasn't even dented my spirits. Bottom left-hand corner, we're at 107,780 fans, creeping up towards 110,000, and the target for the end of the year is, of course, 200,000. So whatever you do, wherever you are, smash the like button, give us a follow, press the heart, press whatever buttons you've got in front of you, and let us know also in chat where you are watching from, because it's a live stream. I can see who is in chat. So good morning to Kishan. Good morning to Juicy. Good morning to Hidden Agendas. Good morning to you all. I do try and keep an eye on as many chats as possible, but when you solo stream, it is not that easy to keep an eye on everything. So I am going to try and keep an eye on chat. Good morning, Gianni. Welcome to the stream. It's a Friday. We should all be happy. Let's not worry too much about the price of Bitcoin, because I have some good news for you. And I know a lot of new people to crypto, they get scared when these things happen. But don't be scared. There is no reason to be scared. If this was January 2026, then yes, we are likely to start heading down, because we will have peaked and we will start to enter the bear market. We are nowhere near there yet. So let's start with the markets then. So the total market cap is down to 2.56 trillion. 7.6% has been wiped off in a day. Some people think it's a bloodbath. I just think it's another day in crypto. Look at the volume, 211 billion in volume. We've been doing 150 billion a day. We've done almost, what's that, 35-40% more. There's been a sell-off. Bitcoin has fallen below 52% dominance. Ethereum is still 17.2. Ethereum dominance should just etch itself or give itself a tattoo as 17.2%, because it doesn't seem to move. Ever since we had the run-up, Bitcoin and Ethereum have held 70%. Ethereum hasn't moved from 17.2. So where are we then? Bitcoin is coming in at just under 68,000. Ethereum has fallen to 3,700. And this is where we are going to see double-digit crashes in a lot of projects today. But the winners, so Conflux, Beam, 0x, and that's it. The rest of these are stable coins. So you can tell it's a red day when some of the winners are stable coins. Now then, here we go. I was saying to you yesterday, was I not? The first crash, the first project to get smashed to pieces will be meme coins. I compared them to the miner birds in mines, are the first ones to die when they smell gas. Bonk is down 16.5%. Floki is down 15.3%. What else do we have down here? Pepe, 13.6%. All the meme coins have been smashed. Bitcoin SV, don't recognize that as a project, not a fan. Mantle is down, Sats is down, eCash, Kronos is down 15%. That's a big move down for Kronos. That was going to start pushing towards 20 cents, and we've had a big retracement in there. So lots of losers today. But I am not worried. I am not worried. I have complete belief in the crypto bull market that we are in. I have complete faith in Bitcoin. And remember, when we get to the Bitcoin chart, I'm going to explain why this has happened in my eyes. But before we get there, we're going to do some X-Files snippets from Twitter, as I still call it, because I am an old boomer. Let me see if I can keep an eye on the chats while we load this up. So breaking, judge says he has reached a conclusion in the ongoing Craig Wright versus Copa lawsuits. Craig is not the author of the white paper. Craig is not Satoshi. Craig is not the creator of Bitcoin. This was in a UK court. The last article today is about this, but this is breaking news because Craig Wright, for the last, I don't know how many years, 2 years at least, has been claiming that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. People have been asking him to move money. People have been asking him to access the wallet. He hasn't done any of that because he's a fraud, and he's been proven to be a fraud in a court of law. So we're going to talk about that at the end of the show if we've got time. Now, there are two tweets from Eric Balchunas. This is the first one, and this is to put into context one of the reasons why you should not be bearish at this moment in time, despite the retracement, despite the fact we've broken 70,000. This is the monthly volume for the 10 Bitcoin ETFs. We are only halfway through March. And look at the volume. So January, 30, let's call it 30 billion. February, let's call it 42 billion. We're at 65 billion in March, and we still have, 16 days to go? And let's take out the weekends. We probably have as many trading days left as we've already had. So we are probably looking at somewhere in the region of $120 billion in volume. That's a 3x from February. It's incredible. This is all new money coming to crypto. Now, yes, some of it is going to be swapping from one ETF to another. They are outflows in here as well, but the net gain is massive for Bitcoin, and that is why you should not be worrying about these short-term losses. It happened, the second drop happened outside of business hours, outside of the hours of the stock market in America. Now, this is a beautiful diagram that I have been looking for forever and a day. What percentage of Bitcoin is actually available to be traded or float, or a la the float of a stock? This was the discussion that Eric had. Now, forget the rest of that. That's not important. What is important is this. Let me open the image in a new tab and make it small enough for you to see. Hopefully that is now small enough. Good morning, Tariq. Welcome to the show. I'm trying to bring this up on the screen so you can see it, because this is very important. Very important indeed. I need to make it a little bit smaller. In fact, what I'm going to do, we'll just leave it like that. Hopefully you'll be able to see enough. So we all know there are 21 million Bitcoin. And I tell you from time to time that there are over 1 million Bitcoin. Well, I actually say there's 1 million that Satoshi mined. Okay. But people have sent him Bitcoin over the years. So let's call it 1 million. So Satoshi has 1 million. So immediately there are only 20 million Bitcoin left. There's only 1.38 billion left to mine. This just doesn't fit as well as that one. So let me get that off the screen. So we've got 1.38 million left to mine. There are allegedly 3.7 billion lost. So if you take out 1.38 and 3.7 and 1, that's 6. There are 15 million Bitcoin in circulation. That's it. That is it. Now, there are never going to be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And if you take out the lost and what Satoshi has, there's never going to be more than 16 million Bitcoin. 16 million Bitcoin for a population of, let's say, 1 billion crypto holders. Now, not everybody in the world is going to hold Bitcoin. Not everybody in the world is going to access crypto. That's too far-fetched for my liking. We're never going to have the penetration that the internet has, because the internet is for everybody. Crypto isn't going to be for everybody. Everybody will use different elements of crypto and blockchain technology in the future, but we're talking specifically here about Bitcoin. Now, if there are 15 million Bitcoin and you own one, there are only 15 million people that can own one Bitcoin in the world. Now, look at how many Bitcoin are held by the ETFs at the moment, and look at how many Bitcoin are held by Michael Saylor. They own 500,000 Bitcoin. So, and they've been going for a month and a half. So they're going to end up owning 1, 2, 3 million Bitcoin. Whose Bitcoin are they buying? They're buying yours. Why are they buying yours? Because you're selling it. And you're selling it because you're being feared out of the market by these dips. There are people that want to try and take profits. I get that. There are people that maybe bought it at 15,000 that want to sell at 75,000 because they've 5x'd. Perfectly fine with that. But if you're a long-term holder of Bitcoin, you shouldn't be scared by a 5 or a 10% dip. Because believe you me, if we look at this chart in 2 years' time, these funds and ETFs are going to hold an awful lot more than they hold today. More than likely 2 or 3 million Bitcoin. Now, if they hold 3 million Bitcoin and there are 15 million Bitcoin in circulation, then 1 in 5 Bitcoin will be held by these giants of finance. Don't let anybody scare you out of your Bitcoin and make you think it's going to zero. Why are they making you think it goes to zero? To shake you out, to shake you down. That's what they're doing. You see people like Jamie Dimon. Bitcoin's trash. Bitcoin is a scam, whatever they call it. Don't let them take your Bitcoin off you. You've worked really hard to get that Bitcoin. Don't let them do it. Now, this is a very good graph to illustrate the point of who owns what. And it also shows you the scarcity of Bitcoin. There really isn't a lot of Bitcoin. And by the time these ETFs have finished gobbling up their Bitcoin, we are going to have a far higher price than we have today for Bitcoin. And that is just supply and demand. I'm not saying we're going to be at $1 million next week. I am saying that we're going to be at 6 figures very soon. And then probably within the next 10 years, we're going to be over $1 million per Bitcoin. That's just the way it is. We have to take into account inflation. Inflation will push the price of Bitcoin up. You need to take into account any additional conflict, any additional pandemic. All of those things will drive people to Bitcoin. There is more than America involved in Bitcoin as well. All countries that have huge levels of inflation will end up adopting Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. El Salvador has done it, and I guarantee you within the next 5 years, there'll be 20 or 30 countries, sovereign states buying Bitcoin. There's 15 million. Where is it going to go? You're going to end up with countries maybe owning 1,000 Bitcoin, and that will equate to billions and billions of dollars in their treasury. So don't be scared. And when these things happen, 7%, if we retraced 25%, I would be questioning why we've retraced 25%. 7% retracement is nothing. Look at the liquidations. The liquidations, 660 million wiped out, and I'm sure another 200 or 300 million were wiped out in the middle of the night as well. So it's not a waning ETF narrative. I've just shown you the ETF purchasing. It's going to 3x in March what it did in February. So again, Martin Young, false information. Economic data coming out of the US is a worry, but again, it's not going to cause this level of retracement. The US has sticky inflation. It's staying above 3%. That's a worry. The stock market was down yesterday as well. You have to sometimes look outside of Bitcoin and say, is there a black swan? Is there a global environmental event that has caused this downfall in Bitcoin? That's what you've got to say. Sometimes it will be to do with Bitcoin. Sometimes it will be to do with the US government or the Fed, or it will be to do with inflation. There's multiples of reasons, but we are down 7.5%. We did come all the way down below 66,000. Now, I said yesterday I couldn't see us going below 69,000 unless something major happened. And at this moment in time, I don't see anything major happening. But we've come down to 65.5, I think. We came down to 65.8. So the asset rebounded slightly to 68,000 before getting rejected and falling to 67.5. We are down 8.3% from our all-time high of 73,737. Remember, my price target was 74,000. We got rejected at 74,000 and we've come down. Now, I'm going to explain as best I can what I think we're going to do next, because that's what matters. That is what matters. And remember, let me know in chat what you think we're going to do. Do you think we are going to come crashing down? Do you think we're going to go down any further? Just give me a second to open up the chat and make sure everything is working. 1 minute. Right, the chat is up. Let's go back into the live stream and make sure we're all fine and dandy. Perfect, there we are. Okay. So then, let's get rid of some of these lines and start again. So, Bitcoin has had somewhat of a retracement. Now, I'm going to highlight a few things for you, and that's the RSI. On the 3 occasions the RSI has come down this low, this has coincided with these dips. But what has happened after these dips? So what do you think is going to happen next? We're going to do this. We are oversold. Now, admittedly, this is only on the 4 hour. It's not on the daily or the weekly, but we're oversold on the 4 hours, on the 4 hour chart. So to me, it looks like today or this afternoon, we are going to have a rebound. If we break 68 and 69,000 and have a crack at 70,000 by the end of the day, we should be happy. But just bear in mind, it doesn't happen straight away. We might have a day or two to move back up. Now, one of the things that you have to bear in mind with resistances, you'll often see this kind of action. And that is, imagine that we're trying to break a door down. Imagine we're trying to break the door down. Early morning raid. We're off to raid Satoshi's house and steal all of his Bitcoin. What happens is you have a run up, you get rejected, you come down. You then have another run up. You might have a deeper rejection. You come down. Then you have another run up. And potentially on the 3rd or 4th time of asking, you break through. And that is, I think, what we're going to do. We saw it at 69,000, which was here, about here. So let me put a line in here and show you what happened. I don't know what I've just stuck in there, but we'll keep it anyway. It looks good enough. Right, so if we put that there, look what happened. We ran, we ran, we ran, and we broke. So we knocked 3 times on this level, and we broke through. So again, it's like a battering ram. We are hitting this level of resistance, and at some point we are going to crack it. Now, when there is such a huge retracement like this, we probably will gather more momentum to have a run at it. And if we don't, what is likely to happen is what happened here, where we have a period of crabbing. Now, I know that sounds like I'm just giving you the cheap way out, but there's 3 options here. We go up, we go down, or we stay where we are. And I don't think we're going to go down. This afternoon, when the ETFs come marching in and buy their Bitcoin, it might be 400 or 500 million. That's 7,000 Bitcoin gone out of the order book. Now, that will move the price up. And that's what's going to keep happening every day at 3 o'clock Central European time, or is it 3:30 Central European time? Those ETFs are going to start buying Bitcoin. It's going to push the price up. How high it goes, I don't know. Michael Saylor is also about to buy $500 million worth of Bitcoin. That's another 7,000 Bitcoin. Where do you think they want the price to be when they buy it? Do you think they want to buy Bitcoin here? Or do you think they want to buy Bitcoin here? Of course, this is where they're going to want to buy Bitcoin. At here, this price. They want the market to crash because they will buy. They want to buy here. They want to buy it down here. They want to buy it at its lowest points. If BlackRock wake up this morning and see Bitcoin at 68,000, they're going to be rubbing their hands together. Because rather than being at 74,000, being at 68,000 gives them roughly 8 or 9% more Bitcoin than we could have got yesterday. And when you're talking about 7,000 Bitcoin, that's a whole lot more of Bitcoin that they can buy today than they could buy yesterday. So of course they're going to want to buy it here. But when they do buy it here, what's going to happen is the price is going to come back up. Now, depending on how much they buy, totally depends on where the market moves back up to. We could see 70,000. We could go back to 71.5, 71.6 today, and nobody will bat an eyelid. You know, this second price move down happened in the middle of the night when these markets were closed. There was no buy pressure to buy those coins. So I'm not too worried about 68,000. I'm not too worried about a wick down to 65.5. None of that bothers me because I know Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, we're going to see another $1 to $2 billion worth of Bitcoin being bought by the ETFs. And don't listen to the narrative that the ETFs are cooling off when I've just shown you that there's going to be 3 times as much money coming in from ETFs in March than there was in February. Don't let them shake you out. Now then, we're going to move on from Bitcoin. Hopefully, you are not too worried. And hopefully, if you're DCAing in, if you're dollar cost averaging in, and Friday is the day that you dollar cost average in, congratulations, you've got Bitcoin at almost 10% cheaper than it was yesterday. So then, Justin Park, Justin Sun, not Justin Park. Justin Park used to play for Man United. Justin Sun parks 480 million ETH in liquid restaker EtherFi. Now, I made a video on Wednesday, I believe. I made a video on Wednesday about EtherFi. $2.5 billion locked in. And I believe if he adds this amount to it, that puts it up to $3 billion locked on EtherFi. Now, I'm not going to bring up the YouTube channel because you can all guess it's called Crypto Warehouse. There we go. So when I covered this on Wednesday, there was 2.5 billion locked in ETH on EtherFi. He has added $480 million to push it up to 3 billion. Good morning, Daniel, or Danny, should I say. I hope you're well. So why is EtherFi a better option for you than Lido, for example? Lido is the biggest dog when it comes to ETH staking. Very simply, EtherFi gives you locked Ethereum. You can lock your Ethereum away, but you keep your keys. If Lido is hacked, your Ethereum is gone. With ETHFi, your Ethereum is locked. That's point number one. And point number two, very similar to Lido, is you can restake your ETH, so your synthetic ETH that you get from them, like Marinade Finance or Blaze on Solana. You can get these synthetic versions of Ethereum that you can then stake in DeFi. So you can earn your 4% in your validator, but you can also earn 5 or 6% in ETH from staking the synthetic ETH. Now, if you're Justin Sun and you're parking 480 million and you're getting a 10% return on that, you're almost making $1 million a month. So it makes perfect sense to do this, but also he has to understand, and he does understand, that using Lido would add a level of risk to his investment that could cause him to lose it. With EtherFi, you hold on to your keys, and that's why he's done it. So it's, I mean, as I said, I made this video 2 days ago on Wednesday, I believe I made it. And actually, just let me check 1 second when I made this video. I think I made it on Wednesday. Now, I'm not going to give you the ins and outs of the project. That's not for this channel. Sorry, that's not for this stream. Let me just go down. I made this video a day ago, it says. ETHFi. So, ETHFi for me, go and check out the video. I'm not going to keep that on the screen too long. I like the project. Again, very similar to some of the projects that I've covered before. I like this project. I think it's going to do really well. I think it is a direct competitor to Lido. And I think once people see the benefits of EtherFi, they'll go and use it. And no, this is not sponsored. No, I'm not being paid by ETHFi. I just like the project. So he's put 173,800 ETH into the ETHFi. He acquired the ETH coins worth 700 million at press for an average of 2,800 per token. ETHFi and other liquid restaking platforms leverage Ethereum's proof-of-stake consensus mechanism to secure other blockchains and protocols running atop crypto's second largest decentralized network. We don't need to read about that. The protocols taps the EigenLayer, the original restaking platform, to achieve this extra staking yield. Some users and proponents have shared skepticism about the crypto trend, citing risks to restaking platforms and ETH's mainnet. But, as we have said, with EtherFi, you keep your keys, and that is massively different. It's like when you stake with Lido, it's very similar to putting it into an exchange, like the exchange that you're on. They're no longer your keys. If the exchange you're on or Lido gets attacked or goes out of business, you've lost your Ethereum. In this instance, you keep your keys. You keep your keys to your Ethereum. So if EtherFi disappears, you still have your Ethereum. That is the difference. And for people that have been stung in the past by exploits, that's the sole reason to use ETHFi. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've got half an ETH and you're happy to stake it on the exchange you're on, keep it there. It's fine. When you're talking about $480 million, you really need to trust what you're using, and you really need to have as many fail-safes and as many security measures taken as possible. And that's why I think he's picked ETHFi. ETHFi is the largest player in the liquid staking restaking business with 2.9 billion in TVL, around double the size of its closest competitor, Puffer Finance, who I've never heard of. So there we go. So if it's good enough for Justin Sun, I'm sure it's good enough for everybody else. And I believe they're doing airdrops as we speak. So you will be able to go and claim. And I'm just checking the chat. It's absolutely disgraceful. The amount of spam in this chat is ridiculous. What is the point of these bots? Giveaway bot is just spamming the chat constantly. It's utterly ridiculous. Hi, I'm Crypto. Why are you pasting that in chat? It's got nothing to do with the stream. Anyway, there's not a lot I can do about them, I'm afraid. I can't sit here keeping my eye on chat and do the stream at the same time. So sometimes I have to make the sacrifice, and sometimes I can't keep on top of the chat. But if you want to speak to me, there are different ways to communicate. There are different platforms we stream on without that spam. So then, this is the big question that I thought I would go through today. This article is about whether Solana is going to overtake BNB and whether it will become the third biggest crypto. So very briefly, if we go back to have a look at the top coins to show you where we are. So BNB is sitting just above Solana. Which one, forget Tether. Tether isn't a cryptocurrency, it's a stable coin. So which one of these two is Solana going to overtake it? And the article goes through the race, and in a post on X, one crypto analyst notes that Sol and BNB, the native currencies of Sol and BNB chains respectively, have been growing, subsequently expanding the market caps of their respective platforms. However, even with this price uptick, it's yet to attain the 5% level. We don't need to care about the 5% level. What we care about is the market cap. 86 billion versus 76 billion. In fact, over the last week, BNB has outperformed Solana, which is pretty good going. If you look down, only really Avalanche and Ton. Ton, by the way, totally overvalued. Don't care what anybody says. There's Avalanche, Solana, and BNB. They're the only three real gainers in the last week. So BNB and Solana are in a race for third place. That's a nice little rhyme for you. Solana has been on a tear, one of my favorite expressions. I'm sure he has taken it from watching my streams. Not only is the coin outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's been expanding rapidly, faster than BNB in the past few trading weeks. When writing CoinMarketCap data shows Sol is trading above $170. We're at $172. BNB has fallen down. It was over $600 yesterday, but of course everything has retraced. One hand BNB remains fourth. Yeah, we don't need to know. Yeah, BNB didn't retrace, but it didn't move, and now we don't have the issues that we've got in America with BNB. So Solana has recovered from the FTX attack, and BNB has recovered from the SEC attack as well. So both of them have kind of come out of the end of a period of bad news, if you like. And of course, don't forget, Solana is being talked about in terms of the next ETF. So when we get the Ethereum ETF, which could be May, I don't think so, I think it's going to be next year. But if we get the Ethereum ETF in February next year, you know what BlackRock are thinking. They are sitting there thinking, what is next? Because BlackRock, as I've said before on the channel, if BlackRock have a Bitcoin ETF, they have exposure to 51.9% of the market. So they've only got access to half of the crypto market. If they get the Ethereum ETF, which is the next thing they want, they will have 70% of the market. Okay, decent, nearly 3/4 of the pie. BlackRock don't want 3/4 of the pie. They want the whole pie. They want all of it. So what's next? Probably Solana, for me. Solana would be next. I don't think BNB is going to have an ETF because it's too closely tied to an exchange. Good morning, Tartarland. I do think Solana is next on the ETF list. What would the ETF news do to Solana? Well, I think immediately overnight, you would be looking at a $300 or $400 Solana. If you look at the Grayscale Solana Trust, it trades at a premium. It's trading at $500. So if you wanted to buy $500 worth of the Grayscale Solana Trust, it would give you one Solana. And of course, we can see here, it's a third of that price. So where would we expect Solana to go if this news was released? It would go towards $500. So Solana for me would be next. Now, back to the question. Of these two coins, do I have a chart for this? I do. I have the Solana chart. Which of these coins would I hold? And I'm going to give you the cop-out answer. If you want to hold a coin on an exchange and do nothing with it and not stake it and not earn launch pool rewards, Solana is the answer for me. Hold Solana. Do I think Solana could hit $500 this year? Yes. Well, that is a 3x for Solana. Do I think that BNB could hit $1,800 this year? No, I don't. It moves too slowly. It's a very slow moving coin down. It's a very slow moving coin up. So the faster horse is Solana. Now, the caveat, if you stake Solana, you will get 5 to 7%. If you stake your BNB in the launch pool, you are likely to get somewhere in the region of 5%, 2%, 3% per month in launch pool rewards. So if you're going to buy BNB today, every month that you get 2 or 3 launch pools and you roll that back into Bitcoin, so let's say into BNB. So let's say you're making $5 a week. If you roll that $5 a week back into BNB, then I think it will outperform value-wise Solana. Only just. Because I do see BNB pushing higher this year. Maybe it hits $900. But I don't see it 3xing. It's too big. That would give it a $270 billion market cap. It's very high, that for BNB. So the short answer is Solana. Fastest horse. Stake it natively. Stake it on the exchange you're on. Buy Solana. I do expect it to hit $200 sometime soon. Remember what I said a week and a half ago when we were down below $150. I said the next target for Solana is $174. And if we go and look at the chart, and you know what, of all the predictions we've made on here, you know, we've made some good ones over the last few months. In fact, there haven't been too many bad predictions because the market's been going up so much. But we've picked some of the fastest horses. Now, look at that line that we drew. Now, we drew this ages ago, and you know, if you've watched back, this line, and this line, these have all been on our charts for weeks and weeks. This is the long-term trend line that we've been talking about again. This trend line goes all the way back. Always move the chart by accident. All the way back to September last year when this started. Now, I am not Ben Cowan. I am not Crypto Lifer. I can only go off what's in front of me. I do not have their huge levels of experience, but we have been ticking along quite nicely, moving up, very similar to XRP. Has been following the same kind of movement, and we broke, and well, we actually found support and resistance. If you go back in here, because to see where we're going to go, it's always good to look back. When we drew this level of support here, and this level of support here, and this level of support here, or sorry, resistance here, this was because of previous price action. What prices has it got to in the past? Where are the fib levels? We came up here and we broke straight through pretty much. And what did we do? We used it as support. What did we do up here? We broke it, we came down, we used it as support. Now look, we've broken it and we're just below it. So are we going to get rejected at 174? Could we see this kind of movement? Or is the bullish narrative around WIF, around the meme coins, around Jupiter, around airdrops, is that going to propel Solana higher? So where is the next target for Solana? Well, what we're going to do, we are not going to look at any other line other than the $200 line. Why? $200 is a psychological line in the sand. Way back down here, when we were at $50, I've done it again. Way down here, when we were at $50, we were talking about what's going to happen at $50. And we had a good old wiggle down there at $50. Okay? And we did have a fight there, but we did break it eventually. Where did we have a wobble next? Here. And what was this? This was $93 to $100. Psychological barrier. Okay, I am not a TA expert. I'm just going off a little bit of common sense and looking for trends in the charts. So we've got previous price action. We've got fairly high RSI. If you look here, the RSI is overbought, but we are in a bull market, so that is to be expected. So one of two things is going to happen again. We could do this. That could be the next move for Solana. Or we could get rejected, come back down, maybe come down as low as 140, and then have another crack at breaking 174. But either way, I think it's upwards now for Solana. And yes, we are going to start to reach higher prices, which will be lower and lower movements in percentage wise. You know, going from $50 to $170, or even if we go back as far as, let's look at the 1st of February. So the 1st of February, we were at $97 on the 1st of February. So in a month and a half, we have almost doubled. And again, a lot of this is to do with us coming out of the FTX hangover, and a lot of this is to do with the meme coins. You know, to buy the meme coins, a lot of people are buying into the Solana blockchain. The one thing that hasn't pumped on the Solana blockchain yet is NFTs, and that will be a sign that we're really in the bull market when NFTs start to go. But at the minute, it's meme coins, and they are the ones that are driving a lot of this price action in Solana. And you know what? Long may it continue, because Solana is quick, it's cheap, fairly decentralized. Yes, it goes down from time to time, but if it goes down once a year, I don't really care about that. So for me, we're going to have a fight at 170. If we don't break it, we are going to probably come down and retest 144, for example. But for me, I'm a big fan of Solana. I've been a big fan of Solana ever since we started streaming on these platforms. So we're going to move on to ICP. ICP, again, I don't think I've ever done an article about ICP, yet it's in my portfolio. So where is ICP going to go in terms of its price? That's what we're interested in. Let me go back in here, bring up the two different pages we need. I've got the chart here, hopefully, there we go. And then we've got this price action. So this isn't an article about the project. This is more to do with the price action of ICP. And ICP is, the long and short of it was that this was manipulated by FTX. So when ICP launched, if we go back to this chart and very quickly show you, and this is going to require some level of zooming out, trust me. So when ICP launched, our good friends at FTX corrupted the price. Can you see this? I don't even think it goes that high. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It broke $1,000. It was absolutely insane. Okay? And that was all FTX. All of this was FTX. So what happened is, you will have been the exit liquidity for FTX at $250. The second thing to bear in mind when you look at anything like this coin is the all-time high. Now, if we go down to ICP, which is there, $700 is the official all-time high of ICP. We are at $12.74. Make no mistake, we are not going to see a $700 ICP in this bull run, or the next bull run, or probably the next 3, 4, 5, 6 bull runs, because that was a manipulated price. You have to treat a coin based on its market cap, based on utility, based on the project itself, and it is never going back to $700 because that was a manipulated price, which is why when I've drawn my fib, I haven't taken it from the all-time high. Otherwise, we would never leave red, and that's not going to show you clever price action. So, again, if you're not new here and you're a regular, you will know that this is the hitbox. This is the area where you should be picking up your ICP. Look how low it got, $3.30. I bought my ICP. Let's have a look. I'm going to put a line in. Where is it? Here. So I bought my ICP there. First week of January. Don't know what it, $4, whatever it was, I paid for it. Now, $4, it was in the red zone, so that's the first tick. It's a project I think is going to be here in 5 years' time. Second tick. And third tick, like Solana, it had a hangover from FTX. So it had a lot of negative press. Now, sometimes, like with Toncoin, the press is too positive. The coin is overvalued. You're going to buy into it and become exit liquidity for somebody else. Conversely, you see coins with negative press. People saying, look at it, it was $700 at its high, it's now $3, it's lost 99.999% of its value. Why buy this coin? It's a waste of time. You buy the coin, you don't base the price that you're buying the coin on the previous all-time high when the previous all-time high was manipulation. This coin should probably have never been higher than $30. So if you take, as we have done here, $25 roughly as its fair value price, we came down to where I bought it, $3. So it lost, or it had, what is it, about 85% of its value had gone. And I thought that was undervalued. Look at where we are now. We're at half the price of the previous all-time high. Unofficially, the unofficial all-time high according to Crypto Warehouse. Now, what did we do? We came out the other end. We wiggled around this level for a while. Again, why $10? $10 is a psychological barrier. Where are we going up to? We've come up to this level here, which is $13. Why have they picked $20? I do not know, because the next price level for me would be about $15.60. Now, this is going to have a good bull run. Why? Because it has a connection to AI. It has a good number of projects that's involved with. It's not overhyped, so it's coming out of a period of being negatively talked about. It's probably still fairly cheap at $12.70, so that's another tick. And it will probably hit $16 the next time Bitcoin has a run and a pause. So if we go back to $72,000 and we wait a week, the alts will catch up, and then we'll go to $16. The $20 mark that we're talking about in this article is too far away for me in one run. Again, this is going into too much depth. I don't want to bore people. Also very wary about time. So for me, I am still bullish on ICP. In the long run, where will ICP go? Well, let me go back and have a look. Where are we now? 67.6. Yeah, we might have a good run. We might have another run at 70. So ICP should be down here somewhere. Have we gone past it? I think we did. There we go. So we're at a 5, call it a 6 billion market cap, 20. If it goes to $16, that gives it an additional 25%. So that would put Polygon nearly in the same breath as Chainlink. I think that's where the project should be valued. This, for me, wholly overvalued. Wholly overvalued. Not a fan of Toncoin. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care what the price goes to. I don't see the value in it. Whereas I do see the value in ICP and Chainlink and coins like that. So for me, ICP is a big tick, even at this price, because potentially in a bull run, we could be hitting $80 to $100, and that would only be a 5 to 6x. And for a coin in 21st place, that's probably not a bad run. Now then, we are going to move swiftly on. As I said, we have got 10 minutes left, 2 articles. We've actually shoehorned another article in today and got rid of final thoughts. Right, so Bitcoin Magazine, again, Bitcoin Magazine, will obviously be pro-Bitcoin. It will obviously be anti-establishment. I get all of that. But it's a good article to explain something to you. And that is monetary debasement. Bitcoin has no top because fiat has no bottom. There is no maximum supply of the currency in your country of origin. So if you live in America, there's no maximum supply of dollars. If you live in the United Kingdom, there's no maximum supply of GBP. If you live in Europe, there's no max supply of euro. Why? Because they can print and print and print. And every time they print money, the money in your pocket loses value. And that is one, I said it yesterday, it's the most destructive taxes you have on your money. If you put $100 under your bed and 10 years later you go to get that $100 out and go to spend it, you probably only have $40 worth of buying power because inflation has just destroyed the money in your under your bed. If you put it into a bank paying you 1% interest, in 10 years time you might have $50 worth of buying power. Why do you think inflation is always higher than the amount of interest you get paid on your savings? Because over time, they don't want you to make money. Why is America having such a problem at the minute with rentals? Because people know that property is an inflation hedge. So people buy property. They buy 2 or 3 or 4 properties if they've got money. And what does that mean for the average American? It means they're paying 3 times the amount in rent that they should do because there's not enough properties for them to live in. So it keeps the rich rich and the poor poorer. And debasement adversely affects the poorer end of the scale. Now, we are not going to read all of this article. So debasement is the process of reducing the quality or value of something. And when talking about fiat currencies, debasement refers to the practice of reducing the precious metal content in coins while keeping the value the same. This is the old version of it. In our version of it, it's by printing money, and the money in your pocket becomes has less worth, if you want to call it that. When central banks increase the supply of money, it lowers the value of each unit. Now, to put that into context, America, over the pandemic, printed 30% of all the money that ever existed. So immediately, that $100 in your pocket became $70. Inflation has to catch up and absorb that money. So the cost of everything over a period of time has to go up a minimum of 30%. That's how it works. It happened in the EU, it happened in the UK. Everyone talks about inflation, everyone blames X, Y, or Z. The simple fact is that your government prints money and it makes your money worth less, but the supply of goods, the supply of services doesn't change. So if you have more money, if the supply of money increases, it increases the demand on something which doesn't go up and it puts the price up. It's simple economics. And that's why you have to understand something like Bitcoin. Maybe gold in the olden days was that inflation hedge. You have to have an inflation hedge. And that's something that keeps up with inflation. And that can be your house. If you own a house in a decent area and you have a mortgage on it and you pay your mortgage off and you get your mortgage down, your house should keep pace with inflation. It's the best asset you're ever going to own. Hands down. The second best asset you're going to own is anything that is inflation linked. So if you have a pension that's inflation linked, for example, brilliant investment. Bitcoin, inflation hedge, brilliant investment. Over any 5-year period, Bitcoin will be worth more than it was 5 years prior. It's just how it was meant to work. It's finite. There's only 20 million. There's only 21 million, but we know, as we've looked at, there's going to be 5 million less. There's only 16 million Bitcoin. So own 1/100th of a Bitcoin. If your entire net worth is $100,000, you should hold $2,000 or $3,000 worth of Bitcoin. That should be the baseline. You shouldn't own 99% of your net worth in Bitcoin, because that doesn't, we talked yesterday about diversification. You shouldn't have everything you've got in Bitcoin, but you shouldn't have nothing in Bitcoin either. So debasement traditionally was the amount of gold or precious metals in coins. Today, it's the amount of paper money being printed. Again, I don't want to go into too much of this. I just want to cover it briefly so you all understand. Governments debase their currency so they can spend without raising taxes. Debasing money to fund was an effective way of increasing the money supply to engage in expensive conflicts without affecting people's finances, or so it believed. Now, here's a question that I see many people ask. If a government can print money, why do you pay tax? And the reason you pay tax is to keep the money supply from going exponential. If a government every year can pay for its civil service, pay for its healthcare, pay for the energy, pay for the essential services, if it can pay for all of those things without a single penny of tax being raised, why don't they just not charge you tax? Because they would flood the economy with money. So what they do is your contribution might be 80% of what a country spends. That extra 20% comes from printing money. So they do it to reduce the supply. They purposely try and make you poorer to keep the demand on goods and services down. That's why they charge you tax. They don't charge you tax to pay for things. They charge you tax to stop you from buying so much more that inflation goes through the roof. Then they have to print even more money, and then you end up like the Weimar Republic or Weimar Republic in Germany, and it just gets destroyed. So debasement is basically they are just sucking enough money out of the economy to keep inflation down to 2% while they continue to print money. So inflation is legal counterfeiting. Counterfeiting is illegal inflation. Robert B. Love. So the Roman Empire, we don't need to talk about the Roman Empire. Does it have the Weimar Republic? The Ottoman Empire, Henry VIII. Here we go. So this was in Germany. They reduced the mark's value from 8 marks per dollar to 184. By 1922, it had gone to 7,350, and it collapsed when it reached 4.2 trillion marks per US dollar. Now, the issue with this is that America is heading towards hyperinflation. They've printed so much money that they now have to suck money out of the economy. What happens when you suck money out of an economy? Everything goes down. They have negative growth. So they go into, and this is a very scary word for most people, a recession. A recession isn't scary. If the costs of goods and services go down 10% and your wage goes down 4%, you're better off. I said yesterday, if you were earning $1,000 a month every month, and in 10 years' time you're earning $1,000 a month, and inflation has been zero for 10 years, you can buy the same thing in 10 years' time than you can today for the same money. So inflation is the problem, and inflation is caused by governments printing money. So if you're looking for the reason that we are in the situation we're in, your government has caused it. Don't let them believe it's anything else. Don't let them believe it's a particular thing. You are going to have the odd exception. Obviously, olive oil. There's been a terrible season in Spain for olive oil. Olive oil prices have gone up. Next year, cocoa beans, terrible yield. So the cost of chocolate's going to go up next year. But they're individual things. If you're sitting here and you're paying 50% more for everything, your energy, your rent, your food, your utilities, if you're paying 50% more today than you were 3 years ago, that is down to your government. They've either borrowed the money and then charging you more, or they've printed the money, which has meant your money is worthless. And this is what happens if they overprint money and they don't suck it out of the economy through taxes. You end up getting an economy where every week things cost more and more and your wages don't increase, and everybody becomes poorer. The best example here is a lobster in a boiling water. The temperature or the rate of monetary debasement increases so gradually they fail to recognize the impending danger until it was too late, just as a lobster doesn't appear to realize it's being boiled alive if the water's temperature rises slowly. That is what America is doing to itself. And that is why it is so important that you hold on to your Bitcoin. That is why it's important. We don't want high inflation. We want interest rates to bring inflation down as close to 1% as possible. This does cause economies to stall. It does cause recessions. But recession, you've been brought up to believe recession is a bad word, and it isn't. A recession is not a bad word. Unemployment is bad. People losing their homes is bad. But costs of goods going down and an economy shrinking isn't a bad thing if it's coupled with the money supply coming down, because goods will end up becoming cheaper. If goods become cheaper, you don't need to pay as much in wages. But they don't want you to believe that. They want you to believe that inflation is good for the economy. It generates jobs. It generates jobs, which means you have to work more for the same money. So anyway, Bitcoin, long and short about this, Bitcoin aims to be an inflation hedge to stop you from losing your hard-earned money that's been taxed. It stops you from losing that over time. Now, finally, 1201. We've not done too bad. Hopefully you've understood most of what we've been talking about. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, I can't get over the chat. I mean, just going to have to screenshot some of these things and send it over because it's absolutely ridiculous. I can't read any comments, I'm afraid. There is just too much spam in chat. So it is. Let's have a look at where we are. Anyway, right, let's get on to the last article and see where we are. So then, there is a lot of rumor and hyperbole about who Satoshi Nakamoto is. I have my own ideas, as do many people that have been in crypto for a long time. They believe that he is X, Y, or Z, and I'm going to change my tune on this. I'm not going to say who I think it is anymore, because if it is that person, it's not fair. And we've spent a long time trying to work out who it was, and we've narrowed it down to a few people, and that's as far as we're ever going to say or go on it. We're never going to say who we think it is. All I will say is I think the person is English or British. That's as far as I'm going to go. And that's based solely on how Satoshi writes. I think it's a man, and I think he's English, and that's as far as we're going to go. Now, Craig Wright has suggested for many years that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. He is an Australian computer scientist. I actually can't see if this is big enough for you to read. So he made his ruling as soon as the proceedings had concluded. He had been expected to retire to consider the case, but said he was able to reach a decision so quickly because the evidence was overwhelming. We don't need to know about what the value of Bitcoin is. The identity of the person or people who invented it has always been unknown, other than they go by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, another thing about Satoshi Nakamoto, I don't believe it's a group of people. I think it's one individual. The writing of Satoshi Nakamoto is consistent with one person. The way the white paper has been written suggests it's one person. Nothing I've ever read suggests it's a group of people. There were a group of people involved, absolutely a group of people involved, and there are Reddit posts and emails that make it very clear that Satoshi took proof of work, for example, was written by an individual who didn't have a use case for it that was working. Satoshi adopted it. the monetary system and the way that it was going to be calculated, he worked with other people on it. So it was a huge collaboration. But at the end of the day, it was Satoshi that put all of the pieces of the jigsaw together. And he should remain nameless because it's his last gift to people. It's his last gift to the world. Sounds very philanthropic, but that's the way it is. If he existed and if people knew who he was, he'd be one of the most wanted people on earth. And I am sure something very similar to the guy who was pressing charges against Boeing or giving evidence against Boeing, I'm sure something similar would happen to Satoshi if their name was common knowledge. And I am sure deep down in some office in America, they know who he is. I'm sure they do. But in the public domain, we don't know. So Dr. Wright, who's from Australia, has claimed to be Satoshi since 2016, but his claims and evidence to back them up have long been questioned by experts. He has been in and out of court for years in legal battles with individuals who challenge his story. The case against him was brought by Jack, I believe. The Crypto Open Patent Alliance, COPA, whose members include Jack Dorsey, accused Wright of creating a chilling effect on the development because of his aggressive legal cases. During the hearing, the legal team said Dr. Wright had carried a massive campaign of dishonesty and forgery. It even accused him of forging fresh documents while the proceedings were ongoing. COPA lawyer Jonathan Howe said elements of Dr. Wright's conduct stray into farce, but he told the court it also had deadly serious consequences. On the basis of this dishonest claim to Satoshi, he has pursued claims he puts at hundreds of billions of dollars, including against numerous private individuals. Dr. Wright is not the person who adopted or operated under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, he told the court. He is not the person who created the Bitcoin system. He said he would give a full written judgment in due course. So there we go. That's brought to close one of these hangovers from the early days of Bitcoin. Think about 2016. It was 2 bull runs ago. Bitcoin was probably at $18,000, $19,000. It was first being heard. First we've heard we need to see Palmerino closer. Yeah, it's listen, I'm gonna have to, I make headlines for my streams to grab people's attention. I don't think it's over at all. I think we're going to be at 6 figures before the end of the year. I think we're going to be closer to Plan B and his prediction than many people think. And I think it's going to melt faces. Going back to the $18,000, $19,000 all-time high, nobody expected it to go that high. The second run, when we got to $69,000, everybody expected $100,000. It never happened. I think this time people are going to expect us to get to $120,000, $125,000, and I think we're just going to rip the roof off. But I've got to put a headline like that on because it grabs attention, and thank you for coming and joining the stream. So as far as I'm concerned, Craig Wright, end of story. He is not Satoshi Nakamoto. We do not want to put people's names into the public domain who Satoshi is, simply because we don't want to draw attention to those individuals. Nobody is going to find Satoshi based on me saying his name, but if 5,000 people in 5,000 videos and 5,000 live streams all say the same name, then the powers that be will probably investigate that individual, and we don't want that case. We want this person, if they are still alive, to remain free. That's what we want. So that's why we're never going to suggest who we think he is. Now then, we are at the end of the show. It is 12:10. We've managed to do the show in 1 hour and 10 minutes today. We don't have a final thought per se, but I'm going to give you a final thought anyway, because that's just what we do. Now, we are wicking back and forth between 66 and 68,000. Do not be worried about these prices. We are back at prices we were at a week ago. That's in the context, the grand scheme of things. If you look at the 7-day price, we are down less than 1% from where we were last week, this time last week. So that is $700 for argument's sake. So this time last week, we were at 67,500, give or take. We are at 66.8 now. When the market kicks in 3 or 4 hours time, I expect a pump. I don't expect a pump to 74,000. I expect a pump. I expect the usual 6,000 or 7,000 Bitcoin to be bought by the ETFs over the course of the next 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever it might be. So don't worry when you see these corrections. These aren't corrections. A 20% correction pre-halving is the norm, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. We might have a 15% correction. Remember, everything is going to be floated by the ETFs. What was a 20% correction might end up being a 10% correction. This could be the correction. This could be the pre-halving correction. How many days do we have left? 34 days. So we're 5 weeks from the halving. And we've just had almost a 10% correction, probably a 10% correction if we go from 65.5. So is this the correction before the halving? I think so. We could go down further. Maybe we go and touch 60,000. I don't see it happening, but we'll see. I do think today we might be up at 71,000 again. If you look at the Bitcoin chart, we have gone down considerably, but yesterday afternoon we came down considerably, and then we were back at 71.6, I think. So I think if we can get back up above 70,000, that would be a good end to the day, and I do expect that to happen. However, this is the end of the show. I am glad you were all here. I am back tomorrow with Brogan. We are back at 11 o'clock. We'll be streaming from the studio. You will see our beautiful faces tomorrow. Now, before you go, 2 things you can do. Smash the like button and follow us. Give us a follow. We have just broken 4,000 followers on YouTube. We are at 4,018 followers on YouTube. So a big thank you to everybody that has followed us over there. Remember to follow us on the platform you're watching us on as well. It's very important to grow our numbers. When we go out and we show our metrics to people and we say we have this many followers, as you can see, we've got 107,000 followers at the minute. It means we can command a higher fee to make videos and AMAs, and in turn, we give 20% of that back to you guys in giveaways. We will do live giveaways on the stream, so it's really important. It doesn't cost you anything to follow us. It doesn't cost you anything to press that button. So with that being said, you have been fantastic yet again. The bots are not fantastic. The bots can go where the sun doesn't shine, but I'd also like you to go and see where the sun doesn't shine, because I'd like you to go outside, touch some grass, have a coffee outside, have some fresh air. Don't worry about any of this. Mohammed, you've just joined right at the very end. Don't worry. This, for people new to crypto, is terrifying. We were at $72,000 yesterday. We're at 67,000 today. It's terrifying. We 8% down. I get it. Don't worry. Don't worry. You can worry when we break below the bull market support band and we stay below the bull market support band. That's when you worry. And that's way back at 44,000. Don't worry. Don't panic. Don't be scared. And with all that being said, a big thank you to everybody that's contributed to the show. Big thank you to all of our OGs. You know who you are. Elian, Tariq, the people that comment in chat. Thank you to you all. And I will see you all in the morning. Take care. Have a great afternoon.